Welcome back to Spartan Nation TV. I'm your host, Hondo Carpenter, along with Cliff Ryan and, of course, Tico Duckett, two former great Spartans, two guys with great NFL careers. Most importantly, you're with us, so thanks for joining us this morning. Let's start right at it. Guys, the Spartan Nation kicked off the season against Youngstown State. A lot of thoughts, a lot of insights. Let's start with you, Cliff Ryan, your thoughts on the game.
It was a very disappointing game. It was a very underachieving performance by the Spartans. They weren't impressive at all, in my opinion. On the offensive end, we didn't get all the receivers involved. Benny Fowler didn't have a catch. Keyshawn Martin.
And now, in fairness, Benny Fowler was out and could not play.
Okay, but Keyshawn Martin, they didn't assert him. I just think we didn't use our weapons enough. You know, we didn't make a statement like the Ohio States and the Wisconsins this past weekend.
Totally agree.
I just don't think it's our style for some reason to come out and beat someone 55-0. I don't fault the coaches, don't fault the players. We're holding back as coaches, but as an ex-player, I know it's hard to get up for teams like Youngstown State.
Well, then take people inside that locker room. Why is it?
Well, it's just hard to get up for a team that everyone says, oh, you're going to beat them by 40. You're expected to win. You're expected to get, we'll get the second and third teamers in. So, of course, as you start playing, you're not excited, and that's just the way it is.
Cliff, you said disappointing. What disappointed you the most?
We're supposed to be a top 3 team in the Big Ten, and we didn't play like it. If you look at Wisconsin, if you look at Iowa, if you look at Ohio State, those teams made statements. They made statements this past Saturday. Michigan State made a statement that we're still in the stage of underachieving, in my personal opinion. All
right, let me ask you this, Cliff Ryan. Let's go right back at you. You say you were disappointed. What were you looking for mostly that you didn't see?
I wanted the team to come out and make a statement, because our previous game before this past Saturday, we got destroyed on national television in a New Year's Day Bowl against a very quality Alabama opponent. So I wanted us to come out and make a strong statement with a 4 to 5 touchdown win, and we didn't do that. We won by 3 possessions. That's not a lot in a football game.
Tico, what were you looking for you were most disappointed not to see?
I don't necessarily say I'm disappointed. I personally feel like, this is a game, a tune-up game. Yes, it feels good. We should make a statement, but that doesn't seem to be our style. We seem to want to hang around no matter who we play, and at the end of the game say, hey, we won.
We've talked a lot about Dan Rochar. What did you see different between him and Don Treadwell?
Well, it's hard to say because it's a game you don't want to show everything. So the only thing I did see is that he did want to run it, but we weren't able to run. So I can't judge him yet because it's too early in the season. We have to wait till he pulls out his guns in the first Big Ten opener.
Cliff, I understand we had 3 new offensive linemen, but were you a little bit shocked the 1AA team didn't let the Spartans run?
No, I'm not shocked, because those guys are quote-unquote Division I rejects.
Right.
Those guys didn't have the grades. Those guys transferred in for whatever reasons, behavioral, academics from other Division I programs. Those guys were going to come in here and be fired up. You said it on your website yourself that Coach D'Antonio mentioned they led in every game last year. So those guys were a high-quality opponent, and I think the Spartans, they're too caught up in the hype. They're too caught up in the Twitter and all this foolishness. They need to get down to business and show the nation that they're for real.
Guys, I have no problem with young players, Will Golston, Marcus Rush, whatever, making mistakes. But do you have issues when a Kirk Cousins locks in, goes 18 for 22, but still thrown into triple coverage, double coverage, and guys that are single coverage getting missed?
That worries me a lot. He's supposed to come in there and show everyone he's a senior. He doesn't do these kind of things anymore, so it's really when he really comes up with an opponent that plays him, it's going to be interesting to see what he does under pressure.
So you talked about him. What about a Keyshawn Martin? There is no reason for a 5th-year senior to be muffing punts the way he did, Cliff.
Yeah, Keyshawn Martin is really disappointing me because he's one of my favorite guys on this team. I've been singing his praises since we got him. He's a high school quarterback. He hasn't showed me anything. He's underachieving. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's lack of motivation, but he's a pro prospect. If he gets himself together, he's a pro prospect.
People were disappointed with the defensive line, but when you're placing a quarterback that does a 2-stop drop, dink, and dunk, they're not going to get time to get to the quarterback. I wasn't disappointed in defensive line.
No, I wasn't either. I mean, that's a tough offense to coverage and to get in there. I was disappointed that Worthy wasn't able to get in there and do something that, all the hype that surrounded him. I think he got in there one time, and I was disappointed a little bit on that.
As a former DT, you understand that offense is difficult to get in on.
Yeah, those two steps drops, you can't get nothing but to get your hands up. At the same time, they're going to have their chances. They're going to have their chances. I'm looking forward to see what Williams is going to do in Jarrell. And the wild card of that group is Tyler Hoover. I think he's going to be dominant down the road.
Totally agree. You're watching Spartan Nation TV. When we come back, we're going to dig inside and look ahead a little bit to Florida Atlantic right here on Spartan Nation TV. Welcome back to Spartan Nation TV. I'm your host, Hondo Carpenter, along with Tico Duckett and Cliff Ryan. Here we go, guys. Let's talk about some disappointments. Kevin Muma is a scholarship kicker. It is unexcusable for him. He's a second-year starter to not get that ball to the goal line or in the end zone. One time, which was weather-aided, other times weather-aided, a little weather against him, some none wind at all, couldn't do it. That's unacceptable. Like the kid, but it's a fact. Tico?
I think we'll give him one more game, and then we need to start looking at the soccer team, seeing seeing who's out there. Because you're right. I mean, they're catching the ball at the 20, 25. That's totally unacceptable.
Absolutely. You can't let guys get the ball at the 8-yard line.
No.
I lost some heartbreaking games here due to bad place kicking. Michigan, Ohio State. That's gonna be those type of moments as a kicker you must seize so you can be a legend down the road when we play the Ohio States in the Big Ten's schedule when the game is close.
Dan Conroy struggled in camp, then comes out, has one opportunity, kicks against the laces. Mark D'Antonio said it best. You've got to kick better than that, even if you're facing the laces.
I can tell you he's going to be kicking all week, all practice.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. There's going to be competition in practice. They're not going to – Mark D'Antonio, place kicking's too important.
Well, the kicking game, period.
Yeah, the special team is the third phase, but it's the most important phase of the game. It can win and lose. It can be the difference between a BCS team and a 6-6 team.
Mike Sadler, the punter, we've talked a lot about him. He was the bright light on special teams. They want to average 38. He did. The only ball that really got carried back, the guy got smothered. It was his best hang time. He should have fair caught it.
Sure. But again, it's early in the season. We got to get the coverage to catch up with the punter. And, you know, it's early, but he is the bright spot, and I hope the other two kickers follow behind him. Let's
go back a little bit, guys. Let's talk about that offensive line. Obviously, Foreman and Magnus, Chris McDonald are probably two of the best guard tandems in the country. They played well, but everywhere else struggled.
The offensive line is a mindset. You have to have a physical, imposing mindset. You must impose your will on the opposite front seven. And until they get that, like we had in the previous years when we had Javon Ringer rolling, when we had, you know, touchdown Baker rolling, we won't get that again until they get the mindset we're going to impose our will on these guys for 60 minutes.
Exactly.
How disappointing were you that so few guys got involved in the passing game? I understand, but when you're throwing triple coverage into BJ, you can get those caught against Youngstown State. Notre Dame picks those passes up.
You know, I think it started with the coaches. I think they said, this is what we're going to do today, and we're not going to do this. So I think Kurt came in the game saying, this, I'm going to throw to this one or two people, and that's it. They didn't get the tight end involved. They didn't get a lot of people involved, so he's trying to hold back.
All right, let's go ahead and give a game performance grade, guys. Let's start with you, Cliff Ryan. What do you give Michigan State for their game against Youngstown State?
Considering the opponent, considering the score of the game, considering the outcome, I'll give them a C.
All right, how about you?
You know, I'll give them a C, too. Again, why I give them a C? It's hard to get up for the teams like that.
I'm going to give them a D. I was unimpressed with very little of the entire team. I thought the best part was the coaching. You saw the right plays being called, guys in the right positions. You just saw players not making plays. How often can you give a team a D and coaching staff an A?
Hey, not too often.
Not very often, because usually both reflect the other.
Exactly.
Absolutely, and it was unreflective of this one. I thought it was a very unmotivated game.
Yep.
When you have this much on the line after getting your butts handed to you against Alabama, there's no excuse to come out and play that way. Unexcusable, in my opinion. All right, let's talk about bright spots. Young players that you liked. Let's talk about Will Golston. What'd you think?
He has a ways to go. He has an NFL body this present day. If he has 2 big years, I can see him being a top 5 pick. I can see him being a Gaines Adams out of Clemson. But he has to have the will to do it. He has to have the will to get it done.
I hope he can be better than Gaines Adams.
I believe he can. The guy looks like Julian Peppers right now, this day. He just has to.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he has to put it all together.
He's not as sexy as you. When we come back, we talk about Florida Atlantic Eagles and their coach Howard Schnellenberger right here on Spartan Nation TV. Welcome back to Spartan Nation TV. It's a pleasure and an honor to welcome to the program the illustrious college football icon himself, the head coach of the FAU. It's the great Howard Schnellenberger. Coach, welcome to the program across the state of Michigan.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. We look forward to coming up and trying again.
I'll tell you what, Coach, this has gotten to be a fun rivalry over the last few years. This is the 3rd time you folks have faced the Spartans. Give us your general impressions of the program and the job that Mark D'Antonio is doing, please.
Well, he's doing a wonderful job. Obviously, when we went there the first year and we had that terrible rainstorm, we felt that we had a reasonable game and that the Spartans were developing quite a good football team. And of course, that's become has really happened with them being able to lead the conference and continue the thing that's so impressive about the program there is it's so basically sound. It's made up of great young kids and older kids as they get towards graduation, but the same offense, same defense, something that obviously they believe in, has been something that really is really built for northern postseason games and games in December, and it's really been a beautiful thing to watch from a coach's standpoint.
Coach, you have obviously had a huge impact on college football, and prior to the season you announced you're retiring at the end of the year. Mark D'Antonio said this week how much of a pleasure it is to coach against people like you, guys that do it right. When you get those accolades from the young coaches like Mark D'Antonio, is it still something that means a lot to you? Because you certainly have done a lot for college football.
Well, it obviously is best coming from your peers and the young guys that are doing so well. And knowing his background, he has to really feel good about where he learned how to play this game of football, as I do with Bryant and Shula and George Allen and Bland Collier. So yeah, it means a lot coming from your peers and people that are been in it long enough to really understand how lucky we are to be able to do this kind of a thing for 52 years of one's life, and then after I step down here as coach, be able to stay on and help the university, FAU, for as long as I need to.
Well, Coach, you are an icon in college football. The many times that I've met you, you've been nothing less than a gentleman. Your impact on the game, and more importantly, the kids, has been tremendous. Thank you for your time today here on Spartan Nation TV.
Oh, good. Thanks for the call, and I'll see you up there very shortly.
All right, that is the great Howard Schnellenberger. They certainly don't come any better than that man. What a gentleman. His impact on the field and off has been tremendous. He is an icon of college football. We'll be back with more right here on Spartan Nation TV on the Spartan Nation Television Network. Welcome back to Spartan Nation TV. I'm your host, Hondo Carpenter, along with Tico Duckett and Cliff Ryan. Guys, we've talked about Michigan State. We've looked at Florida Atlantic. We've looked back at Youngstown State. But let's talk more about the team, because we know these early season games are more about them really than the opponent. Cliff, give me some insight and analysis. You've been in this situation. Game 2, the biggest improvement on the team comes from Game 1 to Game 2. Why?
Because you have a good gauge. You have a good gauge against a different opponent. You know, the first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, you're playing against guys that you're going to see every day, that you're going to practice against. But now you put it on film, as they say in the business. Now you can see what you got to work on, your strengths and your weaknesses. But at the same time, you got to be dominant. We got to get that mindset to be dominant, because the pieces are there. It's not the schemes. It's not the coaching. It's the guys with the helmets and the shoulder pads on.
By the way, George Blaha said on my radio show you were both wrong last week. He said you could take the first string on everyone on this team, and they would still be bowl eligible.
Well, tell George Blau how to tell those guys to show it, because I didn't see it last week, buddy. I didn't see it last week.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I don't think I saw anything last year. Let's go into this a little bit, Tico Duckett. We know, obviously, they kick off here in a little while to play Florida Atlantic, but Mark D'Antonio ate some rear ends. This was a tough week in practice. He went after some people. That's a good thing.
It's a great thing. From the first game to the second, the thing about the first game is this is the first time, like Cliff said, you're beating up on other people now. And this is the first time the coaches get a chance to gel with the players against a live opponent. So you're going to see they learned a lot, they corrected a lot of things. You're going to see a lot of things different from the first to the second, and they'll all be positive.
You tell me, you played for George. Why is their biggest improvement from first game to second game?
Again, I think it's you get the jitters out. I mean, everyone's talked about the opener, and everyone's kind of, I don't want to say scared, but nervous. And now, hey, we've done it before. It's now the next week. We didn't play very well last week, so today you'll see a big difference.
My biggest problem with last week's game was the underutilization of Andrew Maxwell. It continues. To me, that was the only thing keeping the staff from an A. Inexcusable that young man did not get more reps.
This is a problem. You know, he needs to get in there. Matter of fact, I wouldn't say You should let Kurt play for the first quarter no matter what and get Maxwell in there. And if they win the game, they win the game.
If you're concerned about putting Andrew Maxwell in there that you're going to lose to Youngstown State, he should not be your backup quarterback.
That's my point. You should get him in there because we all know one play Kurt's hurt, Maxwell's in there.
You know, Maxwell told me this summer one of the hardest things was all of a sudden he gets to play, but it's against 5 first-round draft picks and against Alabama. Cliff, exactly. I say that was the biggest glaring weakness of this team. What did you think about them underutilizing Andrew Maxwell?
But you said Kirk Cousins is a first-round pick, so you're going to bench your future first-round pick quarterback to get the second guy reps?
Absolutely, I do, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because you have to think about the future, and this kid's got to get reps. Who's he going to get him against? If you're struggling against Youngstown State, who's he going to get him against?
He won't get him.
I mean, we have to. It's a tough situation.
So you're saying don't play the kid, don't give him any experience, don't do anything.
I'm saying do the Ryan Van Dyke, Jeff Smoker experience. That's what I'm saying. Like we did in 2000, we had Van Dyke and Smoker splitting reps.
All I have to know is, do you have Cliff and Ryan on each arm tattooed?
No, not at all.
He has it across his back.
Spartan Nation TV, when we come back, we're going to get predictions about the big game and break it down right here on Spartan Nation TV. Welcome back to Spartan Nation TV. I'm your host, Hondo Carpenter, along with Tico Duckett and Cliff Ryan. It's time now for some big predictions. Let's first start, Cliff Ryan, with you. What are you looking for on offense? Not a score. What are you looking for?
A physical, imposing O-line, spreading the ball out. I want to hear Linthicum. I want to hear Martin. If Fowler plays, I want to hear his name. I don't want to hear Cunningham for 13 times this coming Saturday in Spartan Stadium.
What are you looking for on offense, Tico Duckett?
I think you're going to see exactly the same thing as far as play calling from last week. It's going to be very plain. You're going to run a few times. You're going to throw to 1 or 2 people. I think they'll win it just by doing that.
Defensively, what are you looking for?
I'm looking at we're still got to work on those defensive backs. We just got to get the experience. We got to get experience with the line. We're not going to blitz. We're going to still be playing, but we got to get more reps.
Defensively?
I'm looking for 10 more guys to play like Max Bulla. If they had the heart and determination that Max gave us last Saturday, we'll have a great defensive performance. For a freshman to come out and have 15 tackles in his debut, that's unbelievable.
All right, was he as good as I told you he was going to be? You gave me a lot of credit this summer.
I wasn't a believer because he has. I think people was trying to give him too much credit because of the lineage, but now I'm a believer. I'm a believer. We need 10 more guys like him on defense, and it will have no problems this coming season.
Predictions, Cliff Ryan.
42-21, Michigan State.
Wow, you think that defense gives up 21 points?
Yes, I believe so.
Really?
All right.
Wow. Yeah. No, I have to go probably 28-6. You know, we'll put some points on. We won't blow them out, but and we'll let them score once.
Over 75,000 for the for the Youngstown State game.
Yeah.
Let's talk about attendance. What do you expect attendance to be today? I don't think it's going to be that high.
I think it will be. It's going to be. I think so. I mean, it's Michigan State football. We got great people coming to the game. It's sold out every Saturday. I mean,
I think it's gonna be another.
It's sold out every Saturday.
Just about.
Do you go to all of them? Because I do.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be another. I think it's gonna be another sellout. We got an 8-game winning streak at home.
Exactly.
We're still the reigning Big Ten champs.
It's gonna be rocking today, Hondo.
As
As soon as the show's over, I'm going to take some odds with you guys that it's not a sellout.
Okay.
I wanted some of that action. Lastly, guys, let's talk about this one. Is there any danger of looking ahead to Notre Dame?
It shouldn't be. We need to focus on the task at hand.
I agree it shouldn't be.
Notre Dame.
But will there be?
I hope not, because Notre Dame is not very impressive right now. They lost to a South Florida team last week that they outgained by 250 yards, but they turned the ball over consistently. Let's focus on the Duffy Doherty and the 85 guys we have suiting up this Saturday.
I'll say this. I've got a six-pack hidden by a keg here, but it doesn't make it reality. My question for you is, we know it shouldn't be. Will there be that danger?
No, simply because they're not playing well. We're not looking ahead. I think right now from last week, I think they're focusing on this week to be better, and I don't think we're looking ahead.
Very quickly, one last comment from you. Start with you, Cliff Ryan. Give me one player whose name you want to hear a lot today.
Jarrell Worthy.
Okay. What about for you, Tico Duckett?
For me, Kirk Cousins. I want him to have a good game. Because that again, I've been riding him for years, but he reaches a point, and I don't see that extra from him.
I think Kurt has reached his ceiling. I think he's not going to get any better.
And that's what I'm worried about. I want him to get better.
Yeah.
And so I want Kurt to come in, have a great game, and then I can be quiet.
Thanks, guys. All right, coming up next Saturday on Spartan Nation TV, we look ahead to Michigan State, heading down to South Bend to take on the Irish. I'll tell you what, it's always a big game when they play the Irish. We'll have the latest as they prepare for that big game right here on Spartan Nation TV. So remember, from all of us to you, it's a date each and every Saturday. It's Spartan Nation TV. We'll see you again next week.
Curtis, you're in.